The opulent hall shimmered under the glow of 1,000 golden chandeliers, every surface a testament to the immense wealth that crowned the Emirati skyline. Yet amidst the magnificence lurked an emptiness behind the sharp gaze of the billionaire sheikh. Power wrapped around him like an armor, but could not shield the loneliness that gnawed silently beneath his perfectly tailored robes. Tonight, fate was about to unravel the cold fortress around his heart. Outside the palace's marble gates, the air was heavy with the scent of desert jasmine and the distant, hypnotic whisper of swirling sands. The city's pulse throbbed, a chaotic dance between opulence and desperation. Markets overflowed with silk and spices, while shadows harbored stories best left untold. It was here, in a forgotten alley breathing hardship, that a figure moved with measured grace, despite her worn clothes. The girl the sheikh would soon mistake for a beggar. Her eyes, pools of shadowed resilience, met the night sky, as if searching for an escape that never came. Every crease on her weathered skin told tales of survival, strength forged in silent battles no one else dared witness. But this was no helpless pauper begging for crumbs. Beneath the tattered veil lay secrets bound to shatter the glamorous world of the sheikh itself. The sheikh's sleek black car, commanding, sliced through the stillness, arresting her attention. She lifted her sharp gaze, wary but unwavering. "This street feeds me, though barely," she answered, words laced with a quiet fire. He frowned, unaccustomed to such defiance masking apparent poverty. Against all reason, he extended a hand, an unspoken challenge wrapped in generosity. "Come with me. No one should be left invisible in this city." A flicker of uncertainty flashed across her face. Could she trust a man who ruled this land with iron will? Yet beneath his imposing aura there was a tremor, a crack in his armor hinting at buried vulnerability. As she hesitated, their eyes locked. A silent battle of pride, curiosity, and something neither dared admit: attraction. "Your kindness surprises me," she said softly. The first genuine connection, awakening between two worlds. That should never meet. His heart thundered in an erratic rhythm, betraying his composed mask. The billionaire's instinct to control was shaken by the mystery she embodied. But just as the moment seemed to shift toward fragile understanding, a voice shattered the fragile calm. A palace aide whispered urgently into the sheikh's ear, eyes wide with alarm. His expression tightened. Whatever news had arrived was unwelcome. He released her hand abruptly, the spell broken. She watched him retreat, a chasm opening between them as he disappeared behind the gates. Yet in his troubled eyes lingered a trace of something forbidden: concern. Then, as he turned back one last time, the sheikh caught sight of a delicate golden pendant clutched beneath her worn shawl. A family crest lost to time, one that belonged not to a beggar, but to a lineage intertwined with his own. Shock and realization flooded him. This chance encounter was no accident. The truth she carried threatened to dismantle the empire he had built, and perhaps save him from the prison of his own making. And before the next secret of this opulent world unfolds, Make sure you're part of our caravan of stories. So many destinies are yet to be written, and I don't want you to miss a single moment. Leave a like if the heart of this billionaire sheikh has already caught your attention. Tell me in the comments, from which city are you following this saga, and what twist do you think is coming next? Your passion for these dramas keeps us going. Thank you for staying with us. The golden gates of the palace closed with an echo that seemed to carry away the fragile moment between them. Yet the air between the billionaire sheikh and the girl refused to settle. Behind those towering walls, where every inch gleamed with wealth beyond imagination, a tempest brewed, one far wilder than the desert storms raging beyond the city limits. He stood alone in the vast marble hall, the weight of the news from his aide tightening like a noose around his throat. His mind had barely registered the urgent words spoken in haste when his eyes caught sight of the pendant again. The delicate family crest, hidden beneath her faded shawl. A symbol he had not seen in decades. One that tied the past he thought was buried to the very present, threatening to unravel his meticulously controlled life. His breath shortened as a cascade of memories rushed unbidden. Whispers of a sister lost, secret alliances forged in shadows, betrayals cloaked in velvet lies. Could fate really be cruel enough to place her before him now? A ghost from a past life, disguised as a beggar, testing the fragile limits of his fortress. In the quiet that followed, distant footsteps drew his attention. The sharp call of a servant announcing the arrival of an honored guest broke the oppressive silence. The sheikh forced himself to compose his expression, a mask carved from years of command and control. He would need every ounce of his strength in the coming days. Meanwhile, the girl watched from the shadows, heart pounding, the fleeting warmth of his hand still lingering like a promise. She had felt it. Beneath the hardness, a crack in his armor. But was it enough to mend the chasm between their worlds? Her fingers tightened around the golden pendant. This relic of her heritage was more than mere jewelry. It was the last link to a family torn apart by greed and ambition. She had spent years running from the legacy it represented, yet destiny had its own cruel designs. As the night deepened, she slipped silently through the alleyways, away from the indifferent lights of the palace. Her mind raced, torn between the hope ignited by an unexpected kindness and the chilling realization that her secrets might soon be exposed. The sheikh retreated into his private chambers, the door closing with a definitive finality. Alone, he allowed the mask to crumble, his nights haunted by doubts he dared not speak. The power that had built his empire now felt like chains, binding him to a fate he never chose. He poured himself a glass of rare amber whiskey, the burn a mere echo compared to the fire raging inside. The vision of the girl, her fierce gaze, the pendant glinting softly, kept invading his thoughts. Each passing moment blurred the boundaries between duty and desire, between vengeance and forgiveness. His closest advisor entered, hesitating at the door, yet compelled by loyalty to speak. "Your Highness, the Council demands answers. The stability of your rule depends on the purity of your alliances. A mystery linked to your family could threaten everything." The Sheikh's eyes, once cold and calculating, flickered with an ember of vulnerability. "Then it is time the truth emerged," he whispered, voice barely audible over the distant call to prayer. Far from the palace, the girl pressed her back against the cool stone of a forgotten wall. She had lived in shadows long enough to recognize danger veiled as familiarity. The path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty, but retreat was no longer an option. Her resolve hardened. Whatever the truth uncovered, she would face it head on. For her family, for herself, and perhaps, unknowingly, for the man who had stirred something buried deep within her guarded heart. Days passed like sand slipping through an hourglass, each one tightening the invisible threads, drawing them closer. The palace buzzed with rumors, whispers of the unknown woman seen near the gates, of secrets best left unspoken. The sheikh called a gathering in the ornate council chamber, his voice a low command cutting through the murmurs. "We will uncover what binds us to the past. Nothing will remain hidden." His gaze swept across the room, settling briefly on a portrait of a woman, his mother, whose eyes seemed to hold both warning and sorrow. The patterns of betrayal and loyalty in his bloodline were as intricate as the finest embroidery adorning his robes. Back in the city, the girl found a makeshift refuge in a bustling bazaar where colors clashed and scents mingled in chaotic harmony. The crowd was a sea of anonymity, offering safety in plain sight. Yet even here, she felt the invisible gaze of destiny closing in. Her loyal friend, a streetwise merchant, pressed a folded letter into her trembling hands. "This came for you. No return address. But the seal. It's from the palace." Her breath caught. The parchment a fragile bridge to a world she had fled, yet could never escape. As she unfolded it slowly, the seal broke, revealing a message that would shatter the precarious balance they both struggled to maintain. The letter read, in elegant script, a summons to the palace at dawn by order of the Billionaire Sheikh himself. Fear and hope waged a silent war within her. How had this man, the enigmatic sovereign, whose touch had briefly softened, become her heart thundered, echoing the weight of unspoken questions and the promise of truths to come. Inside, the Billionaire Sheikh awaited, his expression but tempest of restraint and longing. His eyes searched hers, silently pleading for trust in a world where their secrets might finally collide. "Why now?" she whispered, voice trembling as if it carried the hopes of a lifetime. "Because the past," he replied, "is no longer silent, and neither can we be." And in that moment, beneath the glimmering chandeliers and endless shadows, the fragile bond between them ignited, fraught with peril, drenched in passion, and poised on the edge of revelation. But as the doors closed behind her, a single figure watched from the shadows, an enemy who knew the secrets she carried and the power they held. A smile curled coldly across his lips. The game was only just beginning. The morning light filtered through the stained glass windows of the palace, casting fractured rainbows onto the cold marble floor. The air was thick with unspoken anticipation. In his private study, the billionaire sheikh stood by the window, his silhouette rigid against the sprawling city below. His thoughts raced. Haunted by the discovery of the pendant, the emblem that connected the girl to a past he had buried long ago. His gaze shifted to the heavy oak desk cluttered with reports, letters, and the weighty responsibilities of his empire. But none of those bore the urgency that stirred inside him now. Instead, his mind replayed the moment their hands had brushed, a fleeting touch, loaded with more meaning than either dared admit. The door creaked softly. Behind him, his closest advisor entered cautiously, sensing the tempest in the sheikh's eyes. "Your Highness, the council has been briefed. There is unrest brewing among the dignitaries. They question the legitimacy of your decisions, especially after rumors of this woman surfaced near the palace." The sheikh's jaw tightened, the lines on his face deepening. "They must learn the truth," he said, voice low yet resolute. "If our enemies seek to exploit shadows from my past, they will find me ready." A flicker of doubt crossed his face before he swallowed it. Control remained his currency, yet beneath it all, a fragile thread of vulnerability trembled. Across the city, the girl clutched the letter that summoned her to the palace again. The parchment felt heavier in her hands this time, bolder, more demanding. Her heart pounded, not from fear alone, but from a cautious hope she dared not name. Wrapping the pendant beneath her blouse, she ventured into the labyrinth of streets, leading to the heart of the kingdom. The world around her blurred, the scent of exotic spices mingled with dusty stone, and distant calls to prayer echoed with haunting beauty. As she approached the grand entrance, the guards' wary eyes measured her every step. This was no longer the alley where anonymity had shielded her. Here every motion was scrutinized, every breath a silent question. The heavy palace doors swung open, releasing her into a world both dazzling and suffocating. Crystal chandeliers hung like frozen stars, their light refracted across priceless tapestries depicting generations of power and betrayal. The sheikh stood waiting at the end of the marbled corridor. His usual commanding presence was tempered by a tumult she rarely allowed himself to show. His eyes, dark and deep, searched her face as if seeking permission, or perhaps forgiveness. "Why have you come?" His voice was softer than before, the usual edge replaced by something almost vulnerable. "For answers," she whispered, barely believing the courage in her own words. "Answers to questions I've carried alone for years." A silence stretched between them, heavy with the weight of secrets not yet spoken. The sheikh stepped closer, the scent of oud and sandalwood enveloping them. "You carry more than questions," he said, voice low. "You carry," in his eyes, palpable, the empire, the expectations, the power, all threatened to crush the fragile hope rising between them. Suddenly, footsteps echoed sharply beyond the doorway. A figure appeared, a man draped in shadows, his eyes glinting with cold calculation. A rival within the court, known for his cunning and ruthless ambition. His presence a warning that this reunion was not without its perils. "Your Highness," the man intoned, bowing but with a smile that chilled blood. It seems the past has decided to visit us unannounced. Shall we risk the stability of the kingdom for a ghost from yesterday? The Sheikh's gaze hardened, but he did not step back. Instead, he squared his shoulders, a silent vow forming in the depths of his resolve. Some ghosts must be faced, he said. The intruders. Smile deepened, eyes flickering toward the girl. Then let the game begin. As the tension tightened around them like a noose, the girl's fingers brushed the pendant beneath her blouse. It shimmered faintly, a symbol of power, pain, and destiny intertwined. The Sheikh looked to her again, a tempest roiling in his gaze, a man torn between vengeance and forgiveness, between the fortress he built around his heart and the fragile spark that threatened to consume him. For a fleeting moment, the walls of the palace seemed to close in, every whisper and shadow conspiring to keep them apart. Yet, in that electric silence, an unspoken alliance was forged. They stood together, two souls bound by secrets and blood, caught in the merciless currents of fate. And as the rival watched, calculating his next move, a sudden chilling realization swept through the girl, a hidden truth waiting to drag not only their hearts, but the entire empire into ruin. Behind the silk curtains, untouched by the glittering chandeliers, a sealed envelope appeared, a letter penned in the same elegant hand as the summoning. The seal, bearing an emblem neither of them recognized, held a message that promised to ignite the fragile peace and expose betrayals far darker than either had imagined. She glanced toward the Sheikh, fear and defiance burning in her eyes. "This is only the beginning," she murmured. His grip on the armrest tightened. The weight of legacy and love, danger and desire, pressed down like the desert sun upon cracked earth. Outside the palace, the winds shifted, carrying secrets like sand dunes reshaping with every gust. And somewhere, hidden among the glittering lights and whispered alliances, a shadow moved with a smile, one that promised devastation and revelation with the dawn. The game had truly begun. The moment the heavy palace doors sealed behind her, the girl's breath caught in her throat. The grandeur of the hall was suffocating, a stark contrast to the narrow alleys where she had once roamed free, unseen and unheard. Yet, beneath the imposing golden chandeliers and polished marble floors, an invisible weight sat heavy on her chest. The Billionaire Sheikh remained at the far end of the corridor, waiting like a tempest contained within silk robes. His eyes, dark and steady, held a turmoil that centuries of power had failed to quell. He had called her here, summoned her into the very heart of the empire she had fled, and now every step she took echoed a question. Was she ready to face the echoes of a past she thought was buried? As she approached, the faint scent of oud and jasmine wrapped around them, a fragile veil of comfort in the tension-thick air. His gaze pierced hers, searching for something unspoken, perhaps forgiveness or fragile trust. "Why have you come back?" His voice was low, nearly a whisper, but it carried the immense gravity of a desert storm, gathering strength. "For answers," she said, voice trembling yet clear. Answers to what was stolen from me, what was stolen from us. A flicker of something, pain, regret, crossed his face. There are secrets that could unravel everything I've built. Are you prepared for what the truth demands? Her fingers instinctively gripped the golden pendant, hidden beneath her blouse. It was more than a relic. It was the thread linking a fractured past to a present teetering on collapse. I'm prepared, she vowed softly, because the truth has been waiting too long to see the light. Between them, silence thickened like desert heat. Then footsteps shattered the stillness, sharp, deliberate. Both turned toward the entrance as a man stepped into the glowing corridor, his presence slicing the room like a dagger. He was a rival within the court, his eyes gleaming with cold ambition and veiled malice. The fine fabric of his tailored suit whispered power, one earned through cunning, not honor. Your Highness, he bowed with mock deference, a cruel smile touching his lips. It appears the past has come to haunt us. Shall we sacrifice the kingdoms? Peace for ghosts? The Sheikh's lips pressed into a hard line, yet he did not flinch. Some ghosts demand to be faced, and their reckoning cannot be ignored. The stranger's gaze flicked to the girl with a predatory glint, especially when those ghosts carry the power to topple crowns. The room seemed to contract under the weight of their words. The girl's heart pounded like thunder beneath the ornate ceiling. She felt the eyes of the court, even unseen, opening wide, awaiting the unraveling. The Sheikh took a tentative step toward her, the flicker in his eyes softening for a fleeting moment. Together, we stand stronger, he murmured, every syllable heavy with unsaid emotion. But the path ahead will be perilous. Trust will be our most fragile weapon. Her gaze met his, defiance, mingling with an unspoken hope. Then let us wield it wisely. Outside the palace, silence settled like a shroud. The distant call to prayer echoed hauntingly, reminding them both of roots deeper than any palace stone. Within, the shadows grew longer, and in their embrace, secrets stirred. Suddenly, the mysterious sealed envelope, previously left untouched on a silver tray among forgotten scrolls, moved, as though summoned by the surge of tension. Its wax seal glimmered faintly, embossed with an unfamiliar sigil that neither the sheikh nor the girl recognized. The symbol promised devastation wrapped in elegant handwriting, a silent herald of chaos. The girl's eyes widened. "What is this?" she breathed. The sheikh's knuckles whitened as he clenched the armrest of a nearby carved chair. Another piece of the past, waiting to break through the fragile walls we've built. A shadow detached itself from an ornate tapestry. The palace's master of secret affairs, his countenance unreadable. "This will test loyalties unknown, Your Highness. Betrayal is closer than you think." Breath caught in her throat, the fragile thread of hope trembling in the face of inevitable storm. Her secrets, once protected by silence, now threatened to ignite a fire consuming all they had fought to preserve. The rival watched from the doorway, his smile sharp as the desert's thorn. "The game has truly begun," he intoned, his voice a venomous promise curling through the opulent air. The Sheikh's gaze hardened, resolve blazing through the shadows that clung to his throne. Beneath the folds of his silk and gold, a man torn between legacy and love, braced himself. Her fingers touched the pendant once more, a fragile beacon in the encroaching darkness. Together, bound by blood and buried truths, they faced an empire poised on the edge of ruin. And from the depths of the palace, where secrets writhed beneath polished surfaces, a cold whisper curled through the halls. The next move belonged to forces darker than either of them dared to face. The grand hall still hummed with the aftermath of tensions unspoken. The echoes of footsteps fading, but the weight of silent conflict pressing down like desert heat at noon. The girl's eyes, sharp and unyielding, never left the sealed envelope resting on the polished tray beside the carved wooden chair. Its presence was a stark reminder that the sanctuary of truth they sought was cloaked in shadows darker than the night itself. The billionaire Sheikh stood a few paces away, his fingers twitching at the fabric of his robe, a war raging behind the stormy gaze that held hers captive. The polished marble beneath their feet seemed to pulse with unspoken promises and threats, as if the palace itself breathed with anticipation. "You cannot imagine what lies beyond this seal," the Sheikh said, voice rough with restrained urgency. "It is not merely a letter. It is a verdict, a reckoning from the past, that will unravel everything we thought secure." She swallowed hard, the pendant beneath her blouse suddenly feeling heavier, a tether pulling her toward a destiny she had long resisted. "What did you hope I would find here? That I would embrace the darkness awaiting us?" A flicker of something, unguarded, crossed his face. A vulnerability so raw, it shattered the steel around his heart. "I hoped you would choose to stand with me, to face the storm together, not as adversaries, but as allies bound by blood." The air thickened, charged with a fragile hope that threatened to crack under the pressure of secrets still untold. Yet before she could respond, a soft rustling came from the alcove behind them. The master of secret affairs, eyes glinting with inscrutable calculation, stepped forward, holding a folded parchment. "This arrived moments ago," he announced, voice low, but carrying a weight that stilled the room. An unsigned witness account, detailing a betrayal no one anticipated. The Sheikh's brows knit tightly, the shadows beneath his eyes deepening as a cold fury began to ignite within. "Describe it." The advisor's gaze flicked between the two as he unfolded the document slowly. "It claims that one within this palace has been trading secrets with our enemies, undermining the foundation of your rule." A silence swallowed the space as the gravity of the accusation sunk in. The girl's heart pounded fiercely against her ribs, not because of fear, but because every line of the letter seemed to echo a truth she harbored in her own veins. "Is this why you summoned me?" she whispered, struggling to keep her voice steady. "Because I carry the weight of the past, but this could destroy everything now." The Sheikh's jaw clenched, the man of iron will wavering. The past and present are inseparable in this palace. Every secret unearthed threatens to topple the fragile throne. He turned abruptly, pacing toward the windows overlooking the sprawling city, where golden sands kissed the horizon's edge. The light of morning carved patterns of fire and shadow across his face, revealing glimpses of a man burdened far beyond what power could ever mask. "I've built my life on control," he muttered, "on suppressing the ghosts that claw at my soul. But your arrival has shattered that illusion." Her gaze softened, tracing the lines of torment etched on his face. "We are both prisoners of history," she said quietly. "But perhaps the only way to break free is to confront what lies buried." The heavy doors creaked open, and the rival's shadow emerged once again into the hall, eyes alight with malice and calculated menace. "Words mean little when betrayals run deep," he sneered. "Loyalties within these walls are bought and sold, like the very caravans that cross the desert." The Sheikh's eyes burned with fierce resolve. If treachery hides in plain sight, then it will be exposed by the fire of truth. A sudden tension crackled between the three, as the princess wound of political intrigue tightened with every passing second. The girl's fingers instinctively tightened around her pendant, its golden gleam a beacon amid the encroaching darkness. "You don't understand what you are meddling with," the rival hissed, stepping closer, voice dropping to a venomous whisper. "This game is far from over, and you, both of you, might be the pieces sacrificed first." For a fleeting moment, the billionaire Sheikh's usual composure wavered. A glance toward the girl was charged with unspoken questions. Trust, doubt, desperate pleading for an alliance not yet secured. "We've come too far to turn back now," she said, voice steady, despite the wildfire of emotions raging within. "Whatever lies ahead, we face it together." The Sheikh's hand rose slowly, grasping hers in a grip that burned with promise and peril. Beneath the glittering chandeliers, their alliance was forged, fragile yet unbreakable. Outside, the desert winds whispered, as they always did, carrying secrets and prophecies alike across the endless dunes. Within the palace walls, the game of power had taken a new, deadly turn, and as the adversary's shadow melted back into the darkness from which he came, the sealed envelope on the tray shifted slightly, as if alive, waiting for the moment to unleash the truths that would topple empires, shatter hearts, and rewrite destiny itself. The quiet click of a hidden lock undone echoed faintly, unnoticed by all but one, a servant who knew too much and feared even more. The stage was set. The billionaire Sheikh and the girl stood at the crossroads of fate. But behind the gilded curtains, a whisper emerged, chilling and resolute. The past is awakening, and its first move will be devastating. The grand hall's opulence did little to soothe the storm within the billionaire Sheikh's chest. The sealed envelope lay heavy between them, its unknown sigil gleaming ominously under the chandelier's golden light. He could almost feel the weight of the countless secrets sealed inside, threatening to unravel the empire he had fought so hard to build. Her eyes never wavered, sharp and resolute, even as a shudder of uncertainty passed through him. "You don't know what they hold," he murmured, voice barely more than a low tremor. "This could destroy us, divide us forever." His gaze flicked to hers, searching for some shard of certainty amid the shadows threatening to consume them both. "We have walked through shadows long enough," she replied, voice steady but edged with pain. It's time to set fires, to burn away the lies and rebuild from the ashes. The scent of oud and sandalwood clung to the air, dense and intoxicating, a reminder of the palace's gilded cage. The gulf between their worlds had never been wider. Yet now, standing side by side, the fragile thread between them pulled taut, binding them in a dangerous alliance. Before he could utter another word, the master of secret affairs stepped forward, his eyes cold as desert stone. "The letter was delivered just moments ago," he said, voice clipped. "Intelligence indicates a conspiracy within these walls, betrayal that could collapse the very foundation of your rule, Your Highness." The Sheikh's jaw clenched, knuckles whitening as shadows deepened under his eyes. "Tell me everything." The document contains claims of secret collusion with external foes. One or more among your closest counsel. The identity remains concealed, but the threat is imminent. A cold wave swept over the girl, her fingers tightening irresistibly on the pendant hidden beneath her blouse. This relic of a lost lineage no longer felt like protection, but a beacon attracting danger. "Is this why you summoned me?" she whispered, voice breaking, with the weight of years concealed in silence. "Because the past has poisoned the present?" He turned, pacing with a predator's restlessness, the marble floor echoing beneath his steps. "This bloodline, this family, it holds wounds deeper than sandstorms ever could. I thought I could bury it all beneath power, beneath wealth beyond measure. And yet," she interrupted softly, stepping closer, "you summoned me, because you cannot face it alone." His eyes softened for a fleeting moment, a break in the armor that few had witnessed. "You carry the key to a past I thought was lost." Outside the shimmering glass, the city glimmered, oblivious to the imminent storm. A sudden chill cut through the warmth inside, as the rival, masked in menace and serpentine cunning, reappeared, stepping from the shadows like a shadow given flesh. "Your Highness," he said, bowing with venom-laced grace, "embezzling truth is a delicate art. This revelation threatens to fracture loyalties until none remain unbroken." The Sheikh's dark eyes narrowed, flames of defiance igniting beneath a polished veneer. "Let the traitors be revealed. I will dismantle every shadow undermining my realm." The rival's gaze flicked toward the girl, sharp and unforgiving. "And what of her? The forgotten bloodline returned. Will you truly gamble your throne on uncertain ties?" She met his glare with equal fire, the cold gold of her pendant reflecting light like a challenge. "I am not the ghost you fear. I am the reckoning you cannot escape." Their words trembled beneath the weight of unspoken histories. The palace walls seemed to press closer, every echo pregnant with the betrayal and love woven into this dangerous dance. The Sheikh extended a hand with undeniable intent, brushing hers in a touch that burned hotter than desert sun. "Trust will be our most fragile weapon, but it must be wielded." Her fingers curled around his, an unspoken pact sealed in flickering candlelight and shared burdens. Together, they faced a battlefield littered with secrets, enemies, and the ghosts of a past neither could deny. In a quiet alcove, A servant's shadow flickered, then vanished, eyes wide with fearful knowledge. Somewhere unseen, a lock turned, releasing the first chain in a long-forgotten prison of conspiracies. The sealed envelope shivered as if alive, daring to unveil the poison inked inside. The rival, standing at the edge of the room, allowed a cold smile to curve his lips, a blade unsheathed in darkness. And then, beneath the polished marble and golden splendor, fate whispered its cruel promise. The truth that would bring an empire to its knees was already crossing the palace threshold, carried by hands now stained with treachery and fury. The billionaire Sheikh's grip tightened, eyes flashing with resolve and unspoken fear. They were no longer simply allies. They were the last defense against a storm that could swallow them all. The sealed envelope lay heavy on the polished silver tray, its mysterious sigil gleaming faintly beneath the golden chandelier's relentless light. The grand hall, awash with opulence, seemed to close in around the billionaire sheikh and the girl, as if the very walls held their breath, waiting for the truth to shatter the fragile peace between them. He stood rigid, fingers clenched on the armrest of an ornate carved chair, his dark eyes burning with an intensity that betrayed decades of burden. The exquisite scent of oud and jasmine filled the air, suffocating yet intoxicating. The weight of legacy pressed down like the desert sun at high noon, and beneath his tailored robes, the fortress he had built around his heart trembled. "You do not know what darkness this letter holds." His voice was barely more than a growl, thick with restrained urgency. "It threatens to unravel everything." She swallowed hard, the golden pendant tucked beneath her blouse, suddenly seeming like a chain, dragging her toward an uncertain fate. Her gaze, once defiant, softened with the fragile tremor of hope and fear, intertwined. "Why summon me, then? Did you expect that I would walk willingly into that storm?" Her voice barely rose above a whisper, yet every word was laced with a fiery resolve. "I hoped you would stand beside me," he confessed, eyes flickering like desert shadows at dusk. "Not as an adversary, but as an ally. Blood binds us, even when trust falters." A charged silence stretched thin between them, stretched taut like a bowstring ready to snap. The scent of sandalwood grew heavier. The distant murmurs of the court beyond the gilded doors vibrating through the marble floor. Before she could speak, the master of secret affairs emerged from the shadows, his expression a mask of cold calculation. His appearance was a reminder that danger did not lurk only in whispers, but breathed openly within the palace's golden heart. "This just arrived," he announced, voice low and sharp. He handed the sheikh a parchment, folded, unsigned, yet dripping with accusation. "An account of betrayal. One among your closest is suspected of treason." The sheikh's jaw clenched, so tightly the veins stood out like braided cords beneath his skin. His eyes darkened, the ember of controlled fury flickering to a blaze. "Describe it," he commanded. "It alleges secret dealings with enemies beyond our walls," the advisor replied, eyes darting between the two. "The traitor's identity remains hidden, but the threat is imminent." The girl's heart thundered, the weight of the letter echoing the secrets she had carried for years. Secrets that entwined with the very fate of the empire standing before them. "Is this why you summoned me?" she asked, her voice trembling with the rawness of exposed wounds. "Because the shadows of the past have poisoned the present." He paced under the fractured rainbows cast by stained glass, the echo of his steps a restless rhythm. "I built my empire to bury that past, to keep ghosts locked away in silence." His gaze turned inward, haunted. "But your arrival has shattered the illusion." Her fingers brushed over the pendant, the cold gold tempered by her warmth. "We are captives of history," she murmured. "But perhaps the only way to be free is to face the past together." The heavy doors groaned open, and like a serpent coiling in the grass, the rival slithered back into the room. His eyes gleamed with poisonous intent, his smile a blade sharpened. "On betrayal." "Your Highness," he sneered, "peace is fragile. This revelation threatens to tear allies apart and bring kingdoms to their knees." The Sheikh's voice hardened to steel. "If traitors hide among us, I will find them. The fire of truth will expose every shadow." His gaze locked on the girl for a moment, a silent plea laced with unspoken doubt and desperate hope. She returned his look with steadfast courage. Their fragile alliance strengthening against the gathering storm. Outside, the vast desert whispered ancient secrets, winds carrying the promise of change and ruin in one breath. Within the palace, the air grew electric. Every word exchanged, every glance stolen, was a step deeper into a web of intrigue. Suddenly, the sealed envelope quivered, as if alive with the breath of untold consequences. The wax seal cracked faintly, a whisper of destruction ready to be freed. From the shadows, a servant's pale face flickered, a face laden with fear and knowledge too dangerous to voice. The lock on a hidden door turned silently somewhere behind the gilded walls, opening the gateway to treacheries long buried. The girl pressed her hand harder against the pendant, drawing strength from its cold weight. Beside her, the Sheikh's resolve blazed, a man torn between vengeance and mercy, empire and heart. And then, as the rival's sinister smile widened, the air thickened with the promise of chaos. The fragile peace between them shattered like glass under an unseen fist. Because in the quiet depths of the palace, where power and secrets danced a deadly waltz, a darker truth was awakening, one that would reach with cruel fingers into the heart of both their worlds. And before the dawn broke, across the endless sands, a whispered name escaped the lips of one who knew too much. The name that could destroy everything. The golden light of dawn barely touched the polished marble floors when the sealed envelope trembled again, as if restless, yearning to unveil the riddles it kept confined. The room around the billionaire sheikh and the girl was thick with tension, every breath fraught with the weight of unspoken fears, and the fragile bond newly forged between them. He stood tall but weary, the burden of his empire etched in every line of his face. His gaze darted between the unknown symbol embossed on the envelope and the determined eyes that met his, a silent reminder that the past was neither forgiving nor forgetful. She traced the cool edge of the golden pendant hidden beneath her blouse, feeling its solidity anchor her amidst the swirling storms of palace intrigues. Each pulse of her heart echoed the fierce hope that had kindled when their hands last touched. Fragile, yet defiant. "We can't let this letter define us." The Sheikh's voice broke the dense silence, low and rough with restrained emotion. "It carries threats no throne should bear lightly, but we must stand firm, together." Her breath hitched, warmed by a flicker of something softer. A promise veiled beneath the heavy shroud of uncertainty. "Then let the truth burn through the shadows. I'm ready to face what comes." Her voice held the steel of a tempest, daring fate itself to challenge her resolve. A sudden movement from the alcove drew their eyes. The master of secret affairs returned, bearing another scroll, its seal shattered and edges worn as if clutched by trembling hands in a race against time. "This arrived moments ago." His voice was grave. A confession from within. Names named. Betrayal etched into each word. "The palace is bleeding secrets, Your Highness." The girl's fingers tightened around the pendant. Her lineage was no longer just a heritage. It was a powder keg, threatening to ignite the empire's foundations. The Sheikh's jaw clenched, and for a fleeting moment, vulnerability bled through his steely facade. "We've fought shadows long enough. If traitors walk among us, they will face the fire of reckoning." Outside, the desert winds whispered ominously, carrying tales of upheaval across endless dunes. Within the palace, gilded walls seemed to close in, bearing silent witness to a gathering storm. Soft footsteps echoed from the vast corridors as a figure approached. One cloaked not only in the finery demanded by court, but in the venom of ambition. The court rival whose eyes gleamed with cold calculation now stepped into the light, his smile thin and cruel. "Your Highness," he spoke with saccharine menace, "the past clings desperately, threatening the delicate balance. Will you sacrifice stability for ghosts clad in old blood?" The Sheikh squared his shoulders, the fire of defiance flaring anew. "If ghosts rise, I will confront them. If loyalty shatters, I will mend the fractures with truth." The rival's gaze flickered to her. A silent challenge burned in that look. And what of her, the forgotten daughter rekindling ancient flames? Will you wager all on shadows whose depths remain unknown? Her eyes burned with fierce light, the pendant's golden gleam reflecting the unyielding spirit beneath the worn fabric. "I am no ghost. I am the reckoning you all dread." A fragile silence followed, pregnant with peril and impossible hope entwined. The Sheikh reached out, his fingers closing over hers in a grip that seared with unspoken vows. "We have no choice but to trust," he murmured, voice thick with the weight of their intertwined destinies. "Trust is the only weapon this battle affords." Her heartbeat thundered in reply, the pulse of two souls driven by shared secrets and scars. Together they faced a throne built on shifting sands, ready to weather fires only the fiercest bonds could survive. But as shadows pooled in the corners of the hall, a servant slipped unseen toward a hidden chamber. The faint click of a lock undone whispered through the silence. A gateway opening to truths better left buried. In the depths of the palace, beyond the opulence and the shimmering chandeliers, a cold whisper curled like smoke, promising ruin cloaked in elegance. The rival's lips curled into a smile, edged with malice, eyes glinting with the secrets of the serpent. "Let the game truly begin," he murmured, voice low and lethal. And just as the Sheikh's gaze hardened, the girl's fingers brushed the pendant once more, its golden light flickering like a beacon in the gathering gloom. The envelope, now cracked and ajar, revealed but a glimpse of a shadowed name, one that chilled the blood and promised that the empire's heart was poised on the knife's edge of disaster. The countdown was over. Destiny, wrapped in betrayal and desire, was ready to strike. The sealed envelope lay open on the polished silver tray, its shadowy contents now a beacon illuminating the darkest corners of the palace. The name it bore was no longer just a threat. It was the key to unlocking truths long buried beneath years of silence and sorrow. The Billionaire Sheikh stood tall beneath the stained glass windows, the morning light casting kaleidoscopic glimmers on his resolute face. The weight of his empire pressed heavily on his broad shoulders, yet in his eyes shimmered a new-found determination. "The time for fear is over," he said quietly. "The past will no longer be a shackle, but a foundation." She stepped forward, the golden pendant warm against her chest, a symbol of blood, loss, and resilience. "We've carried these shadows alone for too long. Now we confront them together." Their voices mingled with the quiet certainty of shared resolve. The palace, once a labyrinth of secrets and whispers, began to feel less like a prison and more like the cornerstone of their renewed bond. They confronted the treacheries unearthed in the letter, names of trusted courtiers entwined in deceit, alliances forged in lies that threatened to tear the kingdom apart. But justice was not vengeance. It was truth met with mercy. The rival who had sought to poison their world with ambition was exposed and stripped of his influence, his smirk fading beneath the weight of his unraveling schemes. Amid the light breaking through the tension, the alliance between the sheikh and the woman, bound by blood and destiny, blossomed fully. The walls around his heart cracked open, softened by forgiveness and love, a fortress yielding to warmth. Outside, the palace garden flourished in renewed splendor, jasmine and roses bursting in fragrant bloom. Beneath the spreading canopies, the sheikh and his companion stood hand in hand, weaving dreams of a future no longer haunted by secrets. Their wedding was a celebration not of convenience, but of triumph. Family united, laughter filling halls that once echoed with suspicion. The city watched as old divisions healed, inspired by the couple who embodied hope and reconciliation. In the quiet of their chambers, wrapped in silks that caught the light like desert stars, the sheikh whispered with quiet wonder, "You are the peace I never imagined I'd find." She smiled, eyes reflecting the dawn's soft glow, "And you are my home." As the sun rose over the golden sands, the emirate awoke to a new era, a testament to love's power to heal, redeem, and restore. The empire remained vast, but now it was ruled not by shadows, but by hearts united in trust and promise. The sealed envelope, now resting open on the silver tray, revealed only a glimpse of the name that had haunted both their nights and days, the name that had carved scars into their pasts and threatened their future. Yet it was no longer a secret capable of tearing them apart. It was the spark that would ignite their reckoning together. The billionaire Sheikh stepped forward, his tall frame illuminated by the soft morning light filtering through the stained glass. He exhaled slowly, the tense lines on his face easing for the first time in weeks. His voice, though steady, carried the weight of battles fought and won in silence. The truth lies before us. It commands not fear, but courage. She met his gaze squarely, the pendant's gentle warmth pressed against her heart, a reminder of all they had endured and all that awaited them. We have carried these shadows long enough. It is time to bring light, not only to our past, but to the future we choose to build. Together, they unfolded the threads of betrayal, woven through whispered accusations and fragmented confessions. Names, long hidden behind gilded doors, surfaced, some family, some trusted advisors, entangled in schemes that had threatened to unravel the very throne the Sheikh had forged through years of sacrifice. But the revelation did not end in despair. Instead, it birthed resolve. The palace, once a labyrinth of secrets, began to feel less like a cage and more like the foundation on which they would stand, stronger and united. The rival, whose venom had poisoned the corridors of power, was called forth. His confident sneer faltered as the Sheikh, with measured authority, yet newfound humility, dismantled the web of lies that had protected him. Justice, long delayed, was administered, not with cruelty, but with the firm hand of truth and mercy. Amidst the turmoil, the alliance between the billionaire Sheikh and the girl of lost heritage blossomed into something unshakable. The walls that once isolated him softened not only with her presence, but with the forgiveness that bridged the space between imperfection and hope. The palace garden, often overlooked in the splendor within, bloomed with fragrant jasmine and vibrant roses, a symbol of renewal. It was beneath these blossoming vines that the Sheikh and the woman, now no longer a stranger, but the keeper of his bloodline and heart, met with quiet smiles and lingering touches. Their wedding, a celebration, not born of old traditions alone, but crafted anew by their shared journey, was filled with the warmth of family and the laughter of those who had chosen faith over fear. The city, once divided by whispers and suspicion, rose together in hopeful embrace, inspired by the strength found in unity. In the stillness of their chamber, draped in silks that shimmered like desert stars, the Sheikh released the last vestiges of solitude. His eyes, once guarded by steel, now shone with a softness reserved for the woman who had untied the knots of his soul. "You are the peace I never dared believe I deserved," he confessed, fingers tracing the delicate curves of the pendant that had guided them through shadows. Her smile was a promise made, not in words, but in every beat of her steady heart. And you have become the home I have always sought. As dawn painted the sky in hues of gold and rose, the city below awoke to a new chapter. The desert winds carried not secrets of betrayal, but whispers of hope, a testament to love's power to redeem even the most fractured of legacies. The empire remained vast,